This is the second generation of the BMW 2 Series Active Tourer MPV. We're going to tell you what we like and dislike about it right here in Singapore, and we're going to show you why it tears up the playbook of the very first one. Right, before you continue, you should probably check out our first video about this car when I test drove it in Spain, the International Test Drive, and a lot of our conclusions from that video actually ring true right here in Singapore. And secondly, you can also check out Kim's coverage of the 2 Series Active Tourer launch in Singapore to find out which variants are on sale. Okay, like number one, we like the styling of the new car a lot more. Now, honestly, the first gen car, it didn't really like the car at all. It was kind of like an MPV that happened to be a BMW. But thankfully, the new one, that's inverted, so that you can clearly see that it's a BMW that happens to be an MPV, if you know what I mean. So if you look at the front, we have that tall kidney grille. And my own theory is that this car looks a bit more SUV-like, a bit more rugged, a bit more tall. And MPVs that are tall and boxy and kind of brash in that way, they don't hide their boxiness. To me, they're a bit more honest. And also, this car is the 218i, the M Sport version. So we have the M Sport kit, very typical BMW styling here. This part down here, the air intakes all blacked out. So very normal BMW M Sport styling. And it does fit. Last time you put the M Sport kit on the other car, it's like, M Sport on a BMW MPV, so weird, man. But if you come around the side as well, look at the proportions of the car. It is an MPV, yes, but it doesn't look boring. You have this nice little line that breaks up the side of the car. And also you come around to the back, and there's a sense of wideness and flatness, not so much the tall, tippy MPV-ness. So there's like flat lights there. Kind of looks like the 4 Series and the 2 Series Grand Coupe, and a nice black diffuser. So overall, I think this car looks a lot more handsome than the first generation. Okay, like number two about the 2 Series Active Tourer, this time around the interior is a lot more luxurious. Actually, the whole car feels a lot more luxurious in general. Now we'll start with the steering wheel. We've got N-port steering wheel. Feels nice, it's leather, it's really fat. We've got paddle shifters, we've got the new buttons, we've got nice little detail. So I don't think you could have said that about the first generation model, where you really looked at the small details and felt, yeah, this really does feel quite luxurious. So we can't miss the BMW curved display. We mentioned that before. BMW OS 8 also very colorful, also feels very premium. That kind of new generation display feel, just like a smartphone. And to get back on track, we have nice M Sport aluminum inlays here. Got a little bit of ambient lighting. We have leather stitching. Even the aircon controls have a nice little knurling here. Pointed all that out in my very first review of the car. And the spec the car has landed in Singapore, it feels very much the same. So a very nice, luxurious interior. So another thing we like about the MPV is the fact that it's very MPV-like. Now, the first generation car, UKL platform, BMW UKL platform. So the interior kind of felt like the X1, felt kind of like the X2. It wasn't very MPV-ish, but this one is quite different. So if you look at here, you can see we got slightly thick A-pillars, but they come up here and they have a nice little window for you to look through. So that's very important for an MPV, your forward visibility. I'll come back to the driving part later, but also the MPV part is the usefulness. So now we got a whole new console armrest section, because there's no longer a gear shifter, and this part is like a floating section. You have lots of space down here to put your things. You have a nice smartphone charger, cup holders here, so quite a practical interior. It doesn't just look nice, but it behaves in a very practical MPV way now. Okay, our other like about the 2 Series Active Tourer is the way that it drives. Now, partly because this one's a lot better, and also because the very first one wasn't a particularly impressive piece of engineering. And as I said earlier, this is the 218i M Sport. We've got a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder engine and 136 horsepower. So, in terms of day-to-day driving in Singapore, 136 horsepower is quite enough for anybody. And but what stands out to me in comparison to the first-gen car is the fact that it's a lot more refined and smooth. Now, we're tooling around the car park here. We're not going very fast. We're going to go for a bump as well. But I think, the ride quality is better, the noise insulation is better, the handling's nicer. We tried it out on the roads in Spain, You know, it's not the most exciting car to drive. It's still an MPV, but it still drives well. You know, it drives competently. Whereas the old one, you know, things stuck out at me, like the engine vibrations from the 3-cylinder. Sometimes the start-stop would be very jerky. Sometimes the gearbox will be jerky too. This one's also a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. Occasional jerk, but when I compare it to the first-gen model, night and day. This one's a lot better, a lot nicer, and that goes along with the more luxurious presentation. So I mentioned space in the front, a lot of place to stow your crap. But one of the interesting and good things about this that we like, again, is the space, especially in the back, which is important for an MPV.
Hi guys, now these are the things that I find super cool about this car. As you can see, first things first, my leg room is, I would consider this generous. As you know, I still have space to shuffle in front or behind if I decide to do a nice rendition of Billie Jean. This is something that I find very, very useful as well. Look how easy it is for me to grab the seatbelt right here. I don't have to stretch or, you know, strain any muscles in the process. And it's just literally just a reach over and boom, I'm done. Apart from that, my headspace, I think it's great. You know, I got good room at the top. Leg room seems perfect. I've got no complaints.
Alright, so now we are going to try 3 people in this car. Why am I shouting? Because there's only one mic and the other mic is spoiled. But like I showed in Spain, there's this little cutout for your feet here. So I'm going to squish myself next to Mr. Pereira. It's not so bad. No, it's not so bad. So Khai, it's your turn to get in.
Join us!
Join us. Okay, I'm talking extra loudly because the mic is only one mic with Mr. Pereira. How's this space, man? Am I squashing you?
It's a little bit squish, as you can see. We're literally shoulder to shoulder, but leg room is fine. Just that, you know, it's a little bit narrow on the...
Leg room's fine, yeah. I'm kind of smushing your foot a bit, but you know, if none of us are obese yet, but I think it works so far. Khai, are you okay? What do you think? Yeah, I think we're all quite wide actually.
Yeah, we are.
And for a small car, small segment car, this is actually not bad. So as I expected, a little bit squishy with 3 adults, but if I, you know, went into oblivion, you two will probably have a much better time of it. Okay, another like for the 2 Series Active Tourer is the fact that it has a flexible second row. So what does that mean? I can move this chair in front. I can adjust the seatrest angle as well. So that not only means better room and comfort for the passengers here, but also more space if you want to load up the boot, for example. And you can see that this moves back and forth. You can fit more stuff in the back if you want, and the boot is quite sizable and generous. A nice flat loading floor as well. So extra points there for MPV-ness for the 2 Series Active Tourer. Okay, we come to my dislikes about the 2 Series Active Tourer. And the number one thing you should know about this car is that it's a lot more expensive than it used to be. No way getting around it. So when the first generation car appeared here in around 2014, it was about, let me see, it was $177,000 with COE, not counting inflation. And back then the COE level was around 70 grand. And eventually there was a Cat A model, the 216i Active Tourer. We'll get to that in a minute. And to compare apples to apples, this car, the 218i M Sport, 227,888 as of the middle of May 2022. COE level is about 95 grand-ish. So even taking into account the COE level, this car right now is about $47,000 more expensive than it used to be, not counting inflation, you economists out there. But, you know, is it really worth a 50 grand difference? Of course, some of that is because this car is obviously more expensive to make and the cost of living has gone up in general and stuff like that as well. But, you know, the success of the first generation car was because it was a relatively affordable BMW in a world of rather expensive BMWs. Of course, now we have cars like the 1 Series. We also have cars like the 216i. Not a lot more price difference there, but still $227,000 for a MPV is quite a lot of money. And our final dislike is the fact that there's only the 218 here. There's no plug-in hybrids because they're probably going to be too expensive, but we did drive those cars and found them very impressive. Check out my story on CarBuyer Singapore to find out more. But you're all thinking, will there be a 216? My guess is there probably will be, because BMW just released the 216i Grand Coupe not long ago. We have a story on that on CarBuyer Singapore as well. And that should bring it into the Cat A segment. So that would bring the price down by about $25,000 to $30,000, which means that less spec'd out version of this would cost around 200 flat. Now, this particular car here is the launch edition, which adds another 9 grand to that $227,000. But I get stuff like the active seat, the BMW HUD, the BMW augmented navigation, the glass roof, and the parking assistant plus. And in the day-to-day, I think those things are nice to have, but you don't have to have them. So we could have a, say, $200,000 or sub $200,000 version of the 2 Series Active Tourer in the near future, fingers crossed. Okay, after driving the car a bit more, we have a bonus round of dislikes. Now this is my driving position right here. So I drive, hand on the wheel right there. And the thing I don't like about this is the fact that I have to reach out to hit the touch screen. So arm fully stretched out right there. And I have to kind of lean forward a little bit. Yeah, make you see. So arm fully stretched out, I have to lean forward to touch it. And this home button is tiny, absolutely tiny. Don't like it. And I mentioned this in BMW OS 8 before, the fact that all these, this is really, really confusing. There's so many things. So I want to adjust something, I gotta read this tiny little text and then click on it. For example, I want to turn off, say, start stop. Where do I go? If I was here, I know where it is now, but driving settings, there we go. Deactivate. Yeah, so that's like what, 3 clicks, 4 clicks just to get there? That's not very intuitive. And of course, the only reason I'm doing this is because this is a touchscreen only, and there's no longer any iDrive controller. Last time, 1 Series, 2 Series, whatever car will have the iDrive controller. This one doesn't. So I think moving forward, that might be a little cost-cutting measure for BMW. All the smaller cars don't have iDrive controllers. And for my final dislike, it's the fact that, well, I don't really care about this, but I think Singaporean buyers will care a lot about it. The fact that this car only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seats. So this is the BMW 2 Series Active Tourer. There is no longer any BMW 2 Series Grand Tourer, which was the 7-seat model that I believe made up the majority of sales in Singapore. So there's only a booth back there. They're in narrow 3rd row, and spoke to BMW at the international launch of this car. No plans for a 7-seater. Not really sure why. Maybe globally they didn't sell very well, but I know that in Singapore the 7-seat model was the big seller for obvious reasons, because one car households very important here. Right, that brings us to the end of our mini review of the BMW 218iM Sport. What do we like about it? It's a more luxurious car, it's a more presentable car, it drives well, it's still a very practical MPV. The flip side is that it costs a lot more than it used to, but you might want to wait for a 216i in the future. We are quite certain there will be one. So thanks for watching this review. Head on to CarBuyer Singapore to check out the price of this car as well as competing cars and any other car you might want to find in Singapore. Thanks for watching.